The unexpected invitation, Captain Elena Vasquez, floated in the command deck of the Horizon, Earth's first true deep space vessel. Through the massive viewport, stars stretched in all directions like diamonds scattered on black velvet. She had spent 3 years traveling beyond the solar system, further than any human had gone before. The mission was simple: explore, document, and return home. But everything changed when the message arrived. The communication officer, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, turned from his station with wide eyes. "Captain, you need to see this. It's not from Earth." Elena pushed herself toward his console, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. On the screen, symbols glowed in patterns she had never seen before. They shifted and changed, then suddenly transformed into perfect English text. "Greetings to the species of Earth. You have achieved faster-than-light travel. By ancient law, you are invited to join the Galaxy Council. A vessel will arrive at your location in 72 hours to escort you to the Celestial Forum. This invitation cannot be declined. Prepare a delegation of no more than 20 individuals. Safe travels." The message ended with coordinates and a timestamp. Elena read it 3 times, her heart pounding. Humanity was not alone. The question that had haunted her species for millennia had been answered. And now apparently they had neighbors who followed laws and had councils. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Elena said quietly. Everything just changed. The next 72 hours passed in a blur. Elena assembled her team carefully. She chose scientists, engineers, a medical officer, and a linguist. She also brought Commander James Park, her security chief, and Dr. Amira Osei, a psychologist who specialized in first contact scenarios. Each person understood the weight of this moment. They would represent all of humanity. When the alien vessel arrived, it took Elena's breath away. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Horizon. Its hull seemed to be made of liquid silver that flowed and rippled. Lights pulsed along its surface in hypnotic patterns. No visible engines, no exhaust, nothing that made sense according to human physics. A docking tunnel extended from the alien ship and attached to the Horizon's airlock. Elena led her team forward. The tunnel's walls were transparent, offering a view of the swirling colors of faster-than-light space. It was beautiful and terrifying. They stepped through into a reception chamber. The gravity felt normal. The air smelled clean with a hint of something sweet. And then Elena saw them. The crew, 3 beings, stood waiting. The tallest was humanoid but stood nearly 4 meters high. Its skin was deep blue and covered in geometric patterns that glowed faintly. Its eyes were pure silver with no visible pupils. The second creature looked like a floating collection of crystalline shards, constantly rotating and catching the light. The third was small, barely a meter tall, with fur that shifted colors and 6 delicate legs. The tall blue being stepped forward. When it spoke, Elena heard the words in perfect English, though she saw no mouth moving. "I am Navigator Kelson of the Asheri people. Welcome aboard the Stellar Pathway. We will reach the Celestial Forum in 6 of your days." Elena bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she hoped translated. "Thank you, Navigator. We are honored to be here. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth." "Earth," Kelson repeated. "Your planet is registered in our databases as a developing world. It is rare for such young species to achieve light-speed travel so quickly. Most take twice as long." Elena heard the underlying message. Young. Developing. They were children in the eyes of these beings. The journey to the Celestial Forum was enlightening and humbling. The human delegation was given comfortable quarters and allowed to explore parts of the ship. They met other species being transported to the Council. Each one possessed abilities that seemed impossible. The Veskari could communicate through electromagnetic pulses, sharing complex thoughts instantly across vast distances. The Thenics had perfect genetic memory, able to recall every moment experienced by their ancestors for 1,000 generations. The Gorath were beings of pure energy who could manipulate matter with their thoughts. And humans. Elena watched her team and saw nothing special. They were flesh and bone, limited senses, short lifespans. They had built their technology through trial and error, through failure and persistence. They had no natural gifts. Dr. Osei found Elena in the observation lounge on the 4th day. "You're worried," she said, sitting beside her. "How can we possibly fit in with these species?" Elena asked. "Every one of them has something extraordinary. We're ordinary, are we?" Amira looked out at the stars. "Think about Earth's history. Ice ages that should have killed us. Diseases that nearly wiped us out. Wars, famines, natural disasters. We survived all of it. Maybe our gift is that we don't give up. Elena wanted to believe that. She needed to believe that. The Celestial Forum appeared on the 6th day. It was not a planet or a station. It was a structure that defied comprehension. Imagine a flower made of metal and light, petals spreading across thousands of kilometers, each one a different city or habitat. At the center, a massive sphere pulsed with energy. That was the council chamber. The stellar pathway docked at one of the outer petals. Elena and her team disembarked into a grand plaza. Aliens of every description moved through the space. Some walked, some flew. Some simply appeared in one location and vanished from another. The air hummed with 1,000 different languages and sounds. A delegation waited for them. At its head stood a being that looked almost human, except its skin was a pale green and its eyes were entirely black. It wore robes of deep crimson that seemed to be made of living fabric, constantly shifting and moving. Welcome, humans of Earth. I am High Counselor Trivax of the Xanthari. I will guide you through your orientation. The next hours were overwhelming. Trivax led them through the Celestial Forum, explaining its history. The Galaxy Council was over 50,000 years old. It maintained peace among 217 member species. It regulated trade, settled disputes, and protected developing worlds from exploitation. And now, Trivax said as they walked through a garden filled with plants from 100 different worlds, you join us as our youngest members. What is expected of us? Elena asked. Observation, mostly. New members are given a century to learn our ways before receiving full voting rights. You will attend council sessions, participate in cultural exchanges, and contribute what you can to our collective knowledge. A century. Elena did quick math. That was 4 or 5 human generations. By the time Earth had a real voice in this council, everyone on her team would be long dead. They arrived at the council chamber. The doors were massive, carved with scenes from 1,000 worlds. They opened silently and Elena stepped into history. The chamber was circular and vast. Seating rose in tiers around a central platform. Each tier held representatives from different species, arranged by seniority. At the top, closest to the ceiling, sat the founding members. At the bottom, near the entrance, a small section of empty seats waited. The human section. A century. Elena did quick math. That was 4 or 5 human generations. By the time Earth had a real voice in this council, everyone on her team would be long dead. They arrived at the council chamber. The doors were massive, carved with scenes from 1,000 worlds. They opened silently and Elena stepped into history. The chamber was circular and vast. Seating rose in tiers around a central platform. Each tier held representatives from different species, arranged by seniority. At the top, closest to the ceiling, sat the founding members. At the bottom, near the entrance, a small section of empty seats waited. The human section. The ceremony began. One by one, representatives stood and welcomed humanity. Their words were polite and formal, but Elena heard what they did not say. She heard condescension. She heard doubt. She heard species who looked at humans and saw nothing worth their time. The Vorkai representative spoke of their ability to survive in any environment, from frozen methane worlds to the cores of stars. The Melara described their hive consciousness, billions of individuals thinking as one. The Cortex demonstrated their strength by lifting a solid block of metal that must have weighed several tons with one hand. Then it was Elena's turn to speak. She stood on the central platform and looked up at 217 species watching her. What could she say? That humans were good at making tools? That they could adapt to different climates? It all seemed so small compared to the wonders she had witnessed. Members of the Galaxy Council, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. We come before you with humility. We know we are young. We know we have much to learn. But we also come with determination. Humanity has faced extinction more times than we can count. We have stared into the darkness and refused to blink. We do not have your natural gifts, but we have something else. We have the will to survive, the creativity to adapt, and the courage to reach for the stars even when every logical reason says we should stay home. We ask not for special treatment, but for the chance to prove ourselves worthy of this council. Silence filled the chamber, then polite applause. It was the kind of applause given out of obligation, not genuine appreciation. As Elena returned to her seat, she caught the eye of Commander Park. He gave her a small nod. They both understood. Humanity would have to earn every bit of respect in this place. The ceremony ended and a reception followed. Aliens approached the human delegation with curiosity. Some asked questions about Earth. Others simply stared, as if humans were interesting specimens to study. A small alien with crystalline wings approached Elena. "Captain Vasquez, I am Scholar Mirin of the Quellos people. I study emerging species. Tell me, how did your people achieve light-speed travel so quickly? Most species require at least 1,000 years of spaceflight experience first." Elena smiled. "We had a lot of motivation. Earth's resources are limited. We needed to reach the stars or face eventual decline. Sometimes desperation drives innovation." Mirin's wings hummed thoughtfully. "Interesting. Most species achieve space travel from curiosity or expansion. Yours did it from necessity. Is that a bad thing? Not bad. Just different. The Council values stability and proven methods. Your species seems to value risk and rapid change. It will be curious to see how you fit in." Later that evening, the human delegation gathered in their assigned quarters. The rooms were comfortable but clearly designed for the least important members. Small spaces, basic furnishings located far from the council chamber. "They think we're nothing," Park said, his frustration evident. "Did you see how that Korthax looked at me? Like I was an insect." "We are insects to them," said Dr. Sarah Kim, the team's xenobiologist. "Most of these species have civilizations older than human recorded history. We're infants to them. Then we show them what human infants can do," Elena said firmly. "We learn, we watch. We find our place here." Marcus Chen pulled up a holographic display of the Celestial Forum's layout. "I've been monitoring communications. The Council isn't as unified as they appear. There are factions, old rivalries. The Vorkai and the Malara nearly went to war 2 centuries ago. They still don't speak directly to each other." "Good," Amira said. "That means they're not perfect. That means there are opportunities." Elena looked at her team, 20 humans in a galaxy of trillions. It should have felt hopeless, but as she looked at their faces, she saw the same determination that had driven humanity from caves to the stars. "Tomorrow we start learning everything we can about this council," Elena said. "Their strengths, their weaknesses, their protocols. They invited us here. Now we're going to show them why that was the best decision they ever made." Outside their window, the Celestial Forum glowed against the darkness of space. Somewhere in that vast structure, decisions were being made that affected billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. And now, humanity had a seat at that table. A chime sounded throughout the forum. It was a priority alert, something that had not happened in decades according to the information displays. Elena pulled up the emergency broadcast, a distress signal. A mining colony on the edge of Council space was under attack. Unknown vessels, heavy weapons, civilians in danger. The Council was convening an emergency session immediately. Elena looked at her team. "This is it. Our first real test. Let's go." They rushed toward the Council chamber, not knowing that in the next 48 hours, humanity would either prove itself worthy of the stars or be remembered as the species that reached too far, too fast. Humanity proves its worth. The emergency council session was chaos. Elena and her team entered the chamber to find representatives shouting across the tiers, their translation devices struggling to keep up with the overlapping voices. On the central holographic display, images from the mining colony flickered. Buildings burning, ships firing weapons, people running. High Counselor Trivac stood at the center platform trying to restore order. "Representatives, please." "We must follow protocol. The Emergency Response Committee will convene within the hour to assess the situation and formulate a response." An hour? Elena couldn't stop herself from speaking. Every head in the chamber turned toward her. "Counselor, with respect, people are dying right now." Trivac's black eyes fixed on her. "Captain Vasquez, you are an observer. You do not have speaking privileges in council sessions." "Then I'm breaking protocol," Elena said, standing. "That colony has 3,000 inhabitants. The distress signal says they have maybe 2 hours of shelter integrity left. If we wait an hour to discuss what to do, we condemn them." A Vorkai representative, its rocky form shifting with what Elena interpreted as irritation, spoke up. "The human does not understand our procedures. The Emergency Response Committee exists precisely for situations like this. They will evaluate the threat level, determine appropriate force deployment, and implement a rescue operation, according to established guidelines." "How long does that usually take?" Marcus asked from beside Elena. The committee's average response time, from convening to deployment, is 4.3 hours, said a Melara representative, its multitude of voices speaking in perfect unison. This is highly efficient compared to historical standards. Elena felt her blood run cold. 4 hours. The colony will be gone by then. That is unfortunate, said the Korthax representative, its massive form leaning forward. But we cannot abandon centuries of proven procedures because one species finds them inconvenient. These protocols have prevented countless wars and saved billions of lives. Dr. Ose leaned close to Elena and whispered, "They're not refusing to help. They literally don't know how to move faster. Their entire system is built on careful deliberation." Elena looked at the holographic display again. A new message appeared. "This is Colony Director Raman. We've sealed our population in the emergency bunkers, but structural integrity is failing. Unknown attackers are using plasma drills. We estimate 45 minutes until breach. Please anyone, we need help now." 45 minutes. Elena made a decision that would either save humanity's reputation or destroy it. "Navigator Kelson," she called out. "You brought us here on the stellar pathway. Is your ship still docked?" The tall Ashari being stood slowly. "Yes, Captain Vasquez, but I am not authorized to deploy military vessels without Council approval." "It's not a military vessel. It's a transport." "You're authorized to transport, aren't you?" Kelson's silver eyes seemed to swirl. "That is technically correct. Then transport us. My team and whatever emergency supplies you have. We can be there in 20 minutes at your ship's speed?" The chamber erupted in protests. "Impossible. Violation of protocol. The humans cannot be allowed to act independently." Trivax raised his hand for silence. "Captain Vasquez, even if Navigator Kelson agreed, what exactly do you propose to do?" "The attackers are using military-grade weapons. You have no combat vessels, no heavy equipment, and your species has never engaged in space warfare." Elena turned to Commander Park. "James, assessment." Park had been studying the tactical display. "The attackers are using 3 medium-sized vessels. Their pattern suggests they're automated or remotely controlled. They're systematically destroying infrastructure, but haven't attempted to land forces. My guess is they want the colony's resources, not a battle. So they're not expecting resistance," Elena said. "Not from the colony, no." Elena looked back at Trivax. "Counselor, humanity may be new here, but we've been fighting for survival since before we had fire. We've learned a few things about warfare. Give us a chance to prove our worth." A long silence filled the chamber. Then Scholar Mirren, the small Quellos who had spoken to Elena earlier, stood. "I propose we allow the humans to attempt their rescue. If they fail, the Emergency Response Committee will still deploy as planned. We lose nothing but time we would have spent deliberating anyway." More protests, but Trivax raised his hand again. The scholar makes a logical point. "Captain Vasquez, you have my permission to use the stellar pathway as transport, but understand this clearly. If your actions result in greater loss of life, or if you provoke a larger conflict, humanity's membership in this council will be immediately revoked." "Understood," Elena said. "We won't let you down." 10 minutes later, the human team was aboard the stellar pathway with Navigator Kelson and a confused crew. Elena gathered her people in the cargo bay. "All right, we have one shot at this. Sarah, what do we know about the attackers' weapons?" Dr. Kim pulled up her datapad. "Plasma drills primarily. Designed for mining, actually. They've been modified for increased power, but they're still fundamentally mining equipment. So not military hardware," Marcus noted. "This is a pirate raid, not an invasion, which means they're not expecting real opposition," Park added. "They chose this target because it's remote and poorly defended." Elena nodded. "Then we give them something they're not expecting. We make them think twice. With what?" asked Lieutenant Davies, their engineer. "We have no weapons. The stellar pathway is unarmed. Every ship is armed if you're creative enough," Elena said. "Davies, what do we have in this cargo bay?" They spent the remaining 15 minutes of flight time improvising. Davies found industrial fabrication tools, magnetic containment units, and spare fuel cells. Park organized them into something resembling a plan. It was crazy, desperate, and probably wouldn't work. In other words, it was very human. The stellar pathway dropped out of light speed near the colony. The 3 attacking vessels immediately detected them and began moving into defensive positions. "They're hailing us," Kelson said. "Audio only." "Put them through," Elena ordered. A harsh mechanical voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessel, this is a military interdiction zone. Depart immediately or be fired upon. Elena took a breath. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Galactic Council vessel Stellar Pathway. You are attacking a council-protected colony. Cease your assault immediately and surrender for processing. Laughter. Cold artificial laughter. The council? The council moves slower than continental drift. By the time they finish discussing whether to rescue these colonists, we'll be 3 systems away with our cargo. Turn around, little ship, or join the colony in ruin. The communication cut off. The 3 vessels began advancing. They're powering weapons, Kelson reported. Captain, we cannot withstand even a single hit from those plasma drills. We're not going to, Elena said. Davies, is the package ready? Ready, Captain. Deploy it. The Stellar Pathway's cargo bay opened. A dozen metal spheres shot out, each one trailing magnetic tethers. They spread in a wide pattern between the council ship and the attackers. The pirate vessels hesitated, scanning the objects. What are those? The mechanical voice demanded. Your last warning, Elena replied. Power down and surrender. They're fuel cells. You're bluffing. Those aren't even armed. You're right, Elena said calmly. They're not armed, but they are connected to the Stellar Pathway's power core through those magnetic tethers. And in about 5 seconds, Davies is going to send a feedback pulse through them. Now, I'm not an expert on plasma physics, but I'm told that when you overload fuel cells near ships using plasma-based weapons, very bad things happen. Silence. Then you're insane. You'll destroy your own ship. No, we calculated the safe distance very carefully. Well, fairly carefully. Marcus, how confident were you in those numbers? Marcus played along perfectly. Maybe 70% confident, Captain. 70%, Elena repeated. Not great odds, but better than what those colonists have right now. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to power down your weapons and move to a safe distance. Then you're going to wait there while we evacuate the colony. If you cooperate, you get to leave with your ships intact. If you don't, we all find out if Marcus's math was correct. The seconds stretched. Elena kept her face calm, but her heart hammered. This entire plan depended on the pirates believing she was crazy enough to risk everything. The terrifying part was that she wasn't entirely sure she was bluffing. This is not over, human, the voice finally said. You've made enemies today. The 3 vessels powered down their weapons and retreated to a distance. Elena allowed herself to breathe. Navigator Kelson, get us to the colony fast. The Stellar Pathway landed near the main bunker complex. Elena and Park led teams down to the colony. The emergency bunkers were holding barely. Walls showed stress fractures and the air was thick with smoke and fear. Colony Director Rahman met them at the entrance. He was a Quellos like Scholar Mirren, with crystalline wings that were cracked and dulled. You came, he said, his voice breaking. We thought no one would come in time. We're here now, Elena said. How many people? 2,893. We lost some in the initial attack. Elena felt the weight of those losses but pushed it aside. We can't take everyone on the Stellar Pathway. We need to set up a defensive perimeter and buy time for council reinforcements. With what? Rahman asked. The colony has no military equipment. Park smiled grimly. Director, you're a mining colony. You have tons of military equipment. You just call it by different names. Over the next 30 minutes, Park organized the colony's equipment into a makeshift defense grid. Mining explosives became proximity charges. Industrial loaders became mobile cover. Ore processors were reprogrammed to generate sensor interference. It wasn't elegant, but it didn't need to be. The pirate vessels began advancing again. Apparently, they had decided the humans were bluffing after all. Captain, Kelson called from the Stellar Pathway. They're powering weapons. We cannot maintain the fuel cell threat indefinitely. They will call our bluff. Then we don't give them the chance, Elena said. Park, light it up. The colony's improvised defenses activated. Explosions lit up the darkness as proximity charges detonated near the approaching vessels. It wasn't enough to destroy them, but it forced them to slow down, to reconsider their approach. Marcus had taken control of the colony's communication array. Captain, I'm broadcasting on all frequencies. I'm telling everyone in range that pirates are attacking a council colony, and the council is responding. I'm making a lot of noise. Good, Elena said. Pirates hate attention. The mechanical voice returned, now filled with anger. You cannot stop us, humans. You have no weapons, no real defenses. You are delaying the inevitable. Elena keyed her communicator. You're right. We can't stop you, but we can slow you down. We can make you fight for every meter. We can make sure everyone in this sector knows who you are and what you're doing. By the time you finish with us, the real Council fleet will be here. So I'll ask you one more time. Is this colony worth it? Is the prize worth becoming the most wanted pirates in Council space? This time the silence lasted longer. Elena watched the tactical display, seeing the vessels holding position, neither advancing nor retreating. Then Scholar Mirren's voice came through. Captain Vasquez, this is Scholar Mirren aboard the Council flagship Unity's voice. We are 3 minutes from your position. The Emergency Response Committee authorized immediate deployment once we showed them your tactical recordings. Well done, Captain. The pirate vessels detected the approaching Council fleet. Within seconds, they had jumped to lightspeed and vanished. Elena sat down heavily, her legs suddenly weak. They had done it. Somehow, impossibly, they had done it. The Unity's voice arrived with an entire battle group. The Emergency Response Committee had finally acted, bringing overwhelming force to secure the colony. As Council troops established a perimeter and began evacuations, High Counselor Trevax himself came down to the surface. He found Elena helping clear debris from a collapsed shelter. Captain Vasquez. She straightened, exhausted and covered in dust. Counselor, I have read the full reports, reviewed all recordings. By all standards of Council protocol, your actions today were reckless, unauthorized, and inappropriate. Elena's heart sank. They had saved the colony and humanity would still be expelled from the Council. But then Trevax did something unexpected. He smiled. It was a strange expression on his green face, but unmistakably a smile. They were also brilliant, courageous, and effective. You saved 2,893 lives today because you refused to accept that speed and caution could not coexist. You showed us something we had forgotten over our millennia of careful procedures. Sometimes the right action is the fast action. Other Council representatives had gathered. The Vorkai stepped forward. The human species lacks natural advantages. No enhanced strength, no telepathy, no unusual abilities. But today we witnessed something perhaps more valuable. You possess adaptability and creative problem-solving under extreme pressure. The Malara spoke next, its collective voice softer than before. We have existed for 50,000 years by following proven methods. But methods can become chains if we forget why we created them. You reminded us that our procedures exist to protect life, not to replace judgment. Scholar Mirren approached Elena with her wings glowing bright. Captain, the Council has made a decision. Humanity's probationary period is being reduced from 1 century to 1 decade. Furthermore, you personally are being appointed as special liaison for emergency response. It seems we need someone who understands that sometimes the galaxy doesn't wait for committees. Elena felt tears threaten, but held them back. Thank you, all of you, but I didn't do this alone. My entire team, Navigator Kelsen and his crew, the colony's people who fought beside us, this was everyone working together. Which is exactly the Council's purpose, Trevax said, to bring different species together, combining their unique strengths to create something greater than any single civilization could achieve alone. We believed humans had nothing special to contribute. Today you proved us wrong. Your species brings something we desperately needed. You bring the courage to act when action is needed, the creativity to find solutions where we see only problems, and the determination to never accept that something cannot be done. Over the following weeks, the story of humanity's first real test spread throughout Council space. The species that should have been too weak, too young, too inexperienced had saved a colony through quick thinking and courage. Elena stood once again in the observation lounge of the Stellar Pathway, now heading back to the Celestial Forum. But this time she wasn't watching alone. Representatives from a dozen species had asked to travel with the human delegation, wanting to learn more about Earth and its people. Marcus joined her at the window. We did it, Captain. We really did it? We did, Elena agreed. But this is just the beginning. Now we have to prove that the colony rescue wasn't a fluke. We have to show the Council that humanity deserves to be here. And we will, Park said, arriving with Dr. Osi. Because that's what humans do. We face the impossible and make it possible. The Celestial Forum appeared ahead, its metal petals catching the light of nearby stars. But now when Elena looked at it, she didn't see a place where humanity didn't belong. She saw home. A new home among the stars where humans would take their place not through natural gifts, but through the qualities that had carried them from caves to spacecraft. determination, creativity, courage. The refusal to give up. No matter the odds, Navigator Kelson approached. "Captain Vasquez, I have a message from the High Council. They are convening a special session in your honor. They wish to formally recognize humanity's contribution and discuss your new role." Elena smiled. "Tell them we'll be there." "And Navigator? Thank you for trusting us when you had no reason to." Kelson's silver eyes swirled. "Captain, in my 300 years of service, I have transported 100 different species to join the Council. I have seen the proud, the powerful, the technologically advanced. But today I saw something I had never witnessed before. I saw a species willing to risk everything, not for glory or advantage, but simply because it was the right thing to do. That is something special indeed." As the stellar pathway docked at the Celestial Forum, Elena gathered her team one final time before disembarking. "We came here as observers, as the newest and least important members of the Galaxy Council. We're leaving as equals, as partners who proved we deserve our place among the stars. But remember, we're not just representing ourselves. We're representing everyone back on Earth. Every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed. We carry their hopes with us." "Then let's make them proud," Sarah said. They walked together through the docking bay, through corridors that had seemed foreign before but now felt familiar. Aliens who had ignored them before now stopped to nod respectfully. Some even approached to shake hands, having learned the human gesture of respect. The council chamber doors opened. Inside, all 217 species stood in a gesture of honor. As Elena and her team entered, the assembled representatives began a slow, rhythmic sound. It took her a moment to realize what it was: applause. In 200 different styles from 200 different species, but all communicating the same message: welcome, well done, you belong here. High Counselor Trevac stood at the central platform. Captain Elena Vasquez and the delegation from Earth. "Please take your place." But he wasn't gesturing to the small section near the entrance, the junior seats where new members observed in silence. He was pointing to a new section, installed in the middle tiers. A place of honor, where humanity's voice would be heard. Elena led her team to their new seats. As she sat down, she looked up at the vast chamber, at the species who had built civilizations while humanity was still learning to make fire. And she smiled, because now humanity had a voice in the galaxy, not because they were the strongest or the most advanced or the most gifted, but because when the moment came when lives hung in the balance, they had acted. They had proven that sometimes the youngest voice in the room has the most important things to say. The session began. Discussions of trade routes, border disputes, technological exchanges, the business of a galaxy in motion. And now humanity was part of that motion, contributing their unique perspective, their creativity, their determination. Elena caught Marcus's eye and saw her own thoughts reflected there. They had reached the stars and found they were not alone. More than that, they had found they were needed. Their differences weren't weaknesses. They were strengths waiting to be discovered. Outside the Celestial Forum, Earth hung in the darkness of space, a small blue marble circling an ordinary star. But on that small world, billions of humans looked up at the night sky with new hope. Their representatives had proven humanity's worth. The galaxy had welcomed them not with pity or condescension, but with respect. The strongest new member of the Galaxy Council wasn't strong because of natural gifts or evolutionary advantages. Humanity was strong because of something far more powerful: the unbreakable will to survive, to adapt, to face any challenge and refuse to back down. As the council session continued, Elena made a silent promise. To the colonists they had saved, to the species who had given them a chance, and to every human past, present, and future. Humanity would not squander this opportunity. They would prove again and again that they deserved their place among the stars, because that was what humans did. They reached for the impossible, and they made it real.